Greetings everyone. So today we will discuss about local fiscal administration, mainly on the topic local taxation and revenue generation. So first, we will define what is fiscal administration. So fiscal administration in its broadest sense is the act of managing incoming and outgoing monetary transactions and budgets for governments, educational institutions, non-profit organizations, and other public service entities. It performs a vital role in macro and microeconomics like fighting economic depression, inflation, stagflation, and unemployment, as well as poverty alleviation. So basically, a fiscal administrator include providing daily oversight on how funds are spent and managed. He ensures that funds are spent and managed according to the goals, objectives, and mission of their organization. In public administration, local fiscal administration is commonly referred to as the formulation, implementation, and evaluation of local fiscal policies by local governments. In the matter of local government, local fiscal administration refers to systems, structures, processes, officials, and personnel in the policy environment governing intergovernmental and interlocal fiscal relations, affecting among others the giving and receipt of allotments and grants from the national government to local government units, allotment sharing between LGUs, sharing of taxing powers between the national government and LGUs and among LGUs, policy on tax rates and structures, revenue and expenditure planning, revenue utilization and expenditure allocation, monitoring and approval budgets, tax ordinances and other fiscal measures, policy on borrowing and borrowing instruments, and lastly, appointment and supervision of local fiscal officers. The fiscal relations between the national government and its agencies on the one hand and the LGUs on the other, which we may call vertical financial relations. This is also referred to in the literature as central local fiscal relations with the internal revenue allotments at its core and the fiscal relations among LGUs themselves, which may be referred to as the interlocal fiscal relations. We also have here the national agencies that exercise supervisory power over local government units. First one is the Department of Finance. So it maintains the Bureau of Local Government Finance or the BLGF, which is the unit primarily involved in local financial administration. It provides technical assistance and training for local governments on local finance. It administers credit facilities such as the Municipal Development Fund and prepares guidelines and standards on matters related to taxation, credit financing, and imposition of various fees and charges. Also, it exercises technical supervision on local assessment and treasury operations and performs monitoring and evaluation of financial performance. Next is the Department of Budget and Management. The DBM is primarily responsible for disseminating information on internal revenue allotment or IRA allocation and the local government's share from the utilization and development of national wealth. The department releases the share of internal revenue allotment directly to the provinces, cities, municipalities, and barangays. We have here the Commission on Audit, or COA. The COA is primarily responsible for the accountability phase of the local budget process. The Commission maintains the Local Government Audit Office, or the LGAO, through which it implements auditing rules and regulations in local government units. The Commission also settles accounts and fixes the liability of accountable officers, as well as determines whether fiscal responsibility has been properly and effectively discharged by the local chief executives. Also, we have the Department of Interior and Local Government, or the DILG. So the DILG, upon which the supervisory power of the President is reposed, at times issues guidelines which are fiscal related. And lastly, we have the Office of the President. The President of the Philippines has general supervisory power over the local government units as provided by Section 4 of the 1987 Constitution. As such, the Office of the President still issues from time to time executive and administrative orders that affect local government units. Now, let's move on to the main topic, which is the local taxation and revenue generation. So, taxation is defined as the act of levying upon a citizen by the taxing authority or the government for purposes of supporting or sustaining its programs and projects. It is also considered as the lifeblood of the government. Being the lifeblood of the government, tax revenue is a critical part of the country's economic and fiscal policy. The government needs to collect taxes from the populace in order to fund the provision of essential services to the society. Without revenue obtained from the general public and other commercial entities, the government is unable to conduct its administrative operations. The majority of the government's revenue comes from taxes. This implies, then, that taxes are essential to the government's ability to function. So we also have here the purpose of taxation. This includes the revenue redistribution, repricing, and representation. So first one is the revenue. This refers to the collection of sum of money for purposes of spending to the services. It is collected from taxes on income and profits, social security contributions, taxes levied on goods and services, payroll taxes, taxes on the ownership and transfer of property, and other taxes. The next one is redistribution. This is a way of transferring wealth from the richer to the poorer persons. It is frequently used in politics to refer to perceived redistribution from those who have more to those who have less. Redistribution increases economic stability and opportunity for the less wealthy members of society and thus usually include the funding of public services. We also have here the repricing. This is a way which encourages or discourages consumption. Taxes can be used to ensure that all social costs and benefits of production or consumption of a particular good are reflected in the market price. The design of a tax system can contribute to the achievement of other social benefits by making it costly to engage in actions considered socially undesirable or by incentivizing behavior that is considered beneficial to society. Lastly, we have the representation. So these are the rulers tax citizens who then demand accountability. So this is in consonance with the American slogan that no taxes, no representation. This is the impact of collecting taxes from the citizens Thus, this demand greater accountability to the taxing authority. Also, representation builds healthier democratic processes, recognizing that higher reliance of government spending on tax revenues is strongly linked to higher quality of governance and political representation. So now we will talk about the national tax law. So the 1987 Philippine Constitution sets limitations on the exercise of the power to tax. The rule of taxation shall be uniform and equitable. The Congress shall evolve a progressive system of taxation as provided in Article 6, Section 28, Paragraph 1 of the Constitution. Tax law in the Philippines covers national and local taxes. National taxes refer to national internal revenue taxes imposed and collected by the national government through the Bureau of Internal Revenue, and local taxes refer to those imposed and collected by the local government. As mentioned in the Section 2, Article 10 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, the territorial and political subdivision shall enjoy local autonomy. Thus, the local government units such as the province, city, municipality, and barangay has given the power to generate its revenues.
Now let's have here the local government tax law. Local government taxation in the Philippines is based on the constitutional grant of the power to tax to the local governments. Local taxes may be imposed as the Constitution grants to each local government unit the power to create its own sources of revenues and to levy taxes, fees, and charges which shall accrue the local government under Article 10, Section 5. With respect to national taxes, local government units shall have a just share as determined by law in the national taxes, which shall be automatically released to them under Article 10, Section 6. Local government tax law in the Philippines are crucial for several reasons. They empower local government units to generate revenue, which is essential for funding local services and infrastructures. Understanding this law is vital for businesses and individuals to comply with tax obligation imposed by the LGUs. It also contributes to the decentralizations of government functions, allowing LGUs to address the specific needs of their communities effectively. Overall, familiarity with local government tax law is essential for promoting economic development, ensuring public services, and maintaining compliance within the Philippine legal framework. Okay, so let's now proceed here to the fundamental principles of LGU tax powers. The following fundamental principles shall govern the exercise of the taxing and other revenue raising power of local government units. Taxation shall be uniform in each local government unit. Taxes, fees, charges, and other impositions shall be equitable and based as far as practicable on the taxpayer's ability to pay. So in this part, guys, when the governments are imposing a taxes to the people, it should be equitable and based on their ability to pay. Nakadepende po siya sa estado ng isang tao sa lipunan kung anong amount yung ibabayad nilang taxes sa ating local government. Be levied and collected only for public purposes. Meaning, yung mga nakokolektang taxes ng ating government should be used for the public purposes, not be unjust, excessive, oppressive, or confiscatory. So, hindi dapat siya unfair, hindi dapat sobra, hindi dapat harsh, or cruel yung pagkokolekt ng taxes mula sa mga tao. Not be contrary to law, public policy, national economic policy, or in restraints of trade. The collections of local taxes, fees, charges, and other impositions should in no case be let to any private person. Meaning, lahat ng nakokolektang taxes, fees, and charges ng government mula sa mga tao ay hindi dapat mapunta sa kamay ng pribadong individual. Dapat itong mapunta mismo sa ating government. The revenue collected pursuant to the provisions of this code should inure solely to the benefits of and be subject to dispositions by the local government unit levying the tax, fee, charges, or other imposition unless otherwise specifically provided herein, and each local government unit should as far as practicable evolve a progressive system of taxation. Yes, dapat ang magbe-benefits ng taxes ay walang iba kundi tayong mga taxpayer. So here are the list of local government taxes in the Philippines. We have here the provinces, tax on transfer of real property ownership, a tax on the sale, donation, barter, or on any other mode of transferring ownerships or title of real property at the rate of not more than 50% of 1% of the total considerations involved in the acquisitions of the property or of the fair market value in case the monetary considerations involved in the transfer is not substantial, whichever is higher. The second one, tax on business of printing and publication. A tax on the business of person engaged in the printing and or publications of books, cards, poster, leaflets, handbills, certificates, receipt, pamphlets, and other of similar natures at a rate not exceeding 50% of 1% of the gross annual receipt for the preceding calendar year. And then we have here the franchise tax, a tax on business enjoying a franchise at a rate not exceeding 50% of 1% of the gross annual receipt for the preceding calendar year based on the incoming receipt or realized within its territorial jurisdictions. And then we have here the sand and gravel tax, a tax levied and collected not more than 10% of fair market value in the locality per cubic meter of ordinary stones, sand, gravel, earth, and other quarry resources, as defined under the National Internal Revenue Code, as amended, extracted from public lands or from the beds of seas, lakes, rivers, streams, creeks, and other public waters within its territorial jurisdictions. And then we have here the professional tax, a tax on each person engaged in the exercise or practice of his professions, requiring government examination at such amount and reasonable classification at the sangguniang panlalawigan may determine, but shall in no case exceed 300 pesos. And then we have here the amusement tax on admission, tax to be collected from the proprietors, lessors, or operators of theaters, cinemas, concert halls, circuses, boxing, stadia, and other places of amusement at a rate of not more than 30% of the gross receipt from admission fees under Section 140, Article 1, Chapter 2, Book 2 of LGC. And then we have here the annual fixed tax per delivery truck or van of manufacturers or producers of or dealer in certain products, an annual fixed tax for every trucks, van, or any vehicle used by manufacturers, producers, wholesalers, dealers, or retailers in the delivery or distributions of distilled spirits, fermented liquors, soft drinks, cigars, and cigarettes and other products as may be determined by the Sangguniang Panlalawigan to sale outlets or consumers whether directly or indirectly within the province in an amount of not exceeding 500 pesos. In the municipalities, tax on business on manufacturers, assemblers, repackers, processors, brewers, distillers, rectifiers, and compounders of liquors, distilled spirits and wines or manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors, or dealers in any article of commerce of whatever kind of nature, exporters, and on manufacturers, millers, producers, wholesalers, distributors, dealers or retailers of essential commodities, retailers, contractors and other independent contractors, bank and other financial institutions, peddlers engaged in the sale of any merchandise or article of commerce, and any business not otherwise. Fees and charges on business and occupations and except as reserved to the province in Section 139 of this code. Fishery rental or fees and charges, municipalities should have the exclusive authority to grant fishery privileges in the municipal waters and impose rental fees or charges. Fees for sealing and licensing of weights and measures and community tax. Now, in the series, it is stated here that the city may levy and collect, among other, any of the taxes, fees, and other impositions that the province or municipality may levy and collect. And then the last one we have here, the barangays. It is stated here that taxes and fees on stores or retailers with fixed business establishment with gross sales or receipt of the preceding calendar year of 50,000 pesos or less than in the case of cities and 30,000 pesos or less in the case of municipalities at a rate not exceeding 1% on such gross sales or receipt. Service charges for services rendered in connection with the regulations or the use of barangay-owned properties or service facilities such as palay, copra, or tobacco dryers. Barangay clearance. No city or municipality may issue any license or permit for any business or activity unless a clearance is first obtained from the barangay where such business or activity is located or conducted. Other fees and charges we have here on commercial breeding of fighting cocks, cockfights, and cockpits. Number two, on places of recreations we charge admission fees. And then the last one, on billboards, signboards, neon signs, and outdoor advertisement. Okay, so let's now have here the common revenue raising power. We have here the service fees and charges. Local government unit may impose and collect such reasonable fees and charges for services rendered. We have here the public utility charges. Local government unit may fix the rates for the operations of public utilities owned, operated, and maintained by them within their jurisdictions. We have here the toll fees or charges. The Sangguniang concern may prescribe the terms and conditions and fix the rates for the imposition of toll fees or charges for the use of any public roads, pier or wharf, waterway, bridge, ferry, or telecommunication system funded and constructed by the local government unit concerned, provided that no such toll fees or charges should be collected from officers and enlisted men of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and members of the Philippine National Police on mission. Post office personnel delivering mails, physically handicapped and disabled citizens who are 65 years or older. When public safety and welfare so requires, the Sangguniang concern may discontinue the collections of the trolls and thereafter the said facility shall be free and open for public use. Okay, so let's now have here the collections of taxes. The tax period of all local taxes, fees, and charges should be the calendar year. All local taxes, fees, and charges should be paid within the first 20 days of January or of each subsequent quarter, as the case may be. The Sangguniang concern may for a justifiable reason or cause extend the time for payment of such taxes, fees, or charges without surcharge or penalties, but only for a period not exceeding 6 months. The Sangguniang may impose a surcharge not exceeding 25% of the amount of taxes, fees, or charges not paid on time, and an interest at the rate not exceeding 2% per month of the unpaid taxes, fees, or charges, including surcharges, until such amount is fully paid, but in no case shall the total interest on the unpaid amount or portion thereof exceed 36 months. All local taxes, fees, and charges should be collected by the provincial, city, municipal, or barangay treasurers or their duly authorized deputies. The provincial, city, or municipal treasurers may designate the barangay treasurers as his deputy to collect local taxes, fees, or charges. Okay, so let's now proceed here to the procedures for approval and effectivity of tax ordinances and revenue measures. Number one, we have here public hearing shall be conducted for the purpose prior to the enactment. So in this part, guys, before the enactments of the tax ordinances and revenue measures, they should conduct a public hearing first. Number two, any questions on the constitutionality or legality of tax ordinances or revenue measures may be raised on appeal within 30 days from the effectivity thereof to the Secretary of Justice, who shall render a decision within 60 days from the date of receipt of the appeal. So if there is someone who are questioning the legality or constitutionality of the tax ordinances or revenue measures that the local government unit impose, you can raise an appeal to the Secretary of Justice within 30 days. And then the Secretary of Justice will going to decide within 60 days from the date of receipt of the appeal. The third one, the aggrieved party may file appropriate proceedings with the Court of Competent Jurisdictions after lapse of the 60 days period without the Secretary of Justice acting upon the appeal. Well, in this part, guys, kapag nagkaroon lang siya ng lapses, kapag lumagpas siya ng 60 days, so the aggrieved party may file an appeal to the competent jurisdiction. And then the last one we have here, publication of tax ordinances and revenue measures should be made after 10 days of approval for 3 consecutive days in a newspaper of local circulation posted in at least 2 conspicuous and publicly accessible places and furnish certified true copy of ordinance to local treasurers for public disseminations. So, they should disseminate. They should have a publications of that tax ordinances para maging aware yung tao sa inimpose na patakaran ng local government unit about tax ordinances and revenue measures.